Garden or not, for the soup pot. It's absolutely fantastic to be able to go to your yard and harvest fresh vegetables and herbs for a wonderful comfort food called soup. I'm going to share with you today 5 steps in mastering the basics of soup making without a recipe. Different types of good soup recipes are fantastic to have. However, we can create a delightful pot of soup just by the ingredients that we have on hand in our pantry, in our refrigerator. And I plan to be sharing with you some very specific soup recipes coming up in the near future videos. With that, garden or not, for the soup pot, let's get started. Step 1 of 5 is to choose your fat. Now this fat is going to be used to saute any root vegetables that you're going to have in your soup or any initial flavors that you want to incorporate within your soup. Different fats are going to incorporate different types of flavors. If you have a tomato-based soup, you might want to choose an olive oil. If you have a cream-based soup, you might want to choose ghee or butter. From there, you can use avocado oil, you can even actually use coconut oil or whatever you have on hand. Number 2 is our liquid base. Now our liquid base is going to have a really big influence on the overall taste and flavor of the soup. Think about what we have on hand. We can always use water and then flavor it up with salt and pepper, even dry herbs and spices that you have in your cupboard. We can use vegetable stock if we have that. We can use different types of meat broths. We can even use dairy or non-dairy milk if you're using some kind of base for a more creamier type of soup. If you have some kind of bouillons, we can flavor up the water quite well by just using that. So how much liquid do we actually want to use? Well, a good rule of thumb is to use 1 cup of liquid per bowl of soup. So ever how many bowls of soup you want to make in that pot, that's a good rule of thumb. You can use a little bit less if you want it more hearty and more stocky, a little bit more if you want it more brothy. Number 3 is to choose a meat or beans or a combination of them both. Meat and beans is going to make your soup more hearty and more filling. And there's so many ingredients to choose from in these 2 categories. It all depends on what you like and what really goes along with your diet regimen. Number 4 is to choose vegetables and maybe some kind of pasta or some kind of grains. Whatever you have on hand and whatever you like and whatever goes well with the base that you have already created for that soup pot. Number 5 is all about flavor. It's our spices and herbs. Now salt and pepper are the most 2 basic spices that we have. And depending on what wonderful base you are creating for that pot of soup will be contingent upon what kind of spices and herbs that you add to there to enhance the flavors that you have already created. So once you decided on all the wonderful ingredients that you have on hand to make that great pot of soup, then from there it's quite simple and easy. So with all of that, garden or not, for the soup pot, let's make a pot of soup. Step 1, choosing a fat to saute some of my vegetables. I'm choosing avocado oil today. It's what I have on hand and it carries a neutral flavor. Step 2, choose a liquid for your base. Today I'm choosing water and I'm going to flavor it up with this bouillon that I have. It's better than bouillon. It is a chicken flavor and it comes as a paste. Step number 3, choose a meat or beans or a combination of them both. Today I have on hand these chickpeas, which is also known as garbanzo beans. Step number 4 is to choose vegetables, pasta, or grains, or a combination of the 3. I'm choosing spinach, onion, carrots, celery, cabbage, and a murasaki sweet potato. It has a white flesh. Step number 5 is to choose your spices, your herbs, or a combination of them all. I'm keeping it very basic. I'm going to use a little bit of garlic salt, pepper, and sea salt. I've got all of my vegetables picked out for my soup today. So I have the burner on medium heat, and I'm just going to add a little bit of avocado oil into the pot to saute the aromatic vegetables, which is going to be your onions, your celery, and your carrots. And I'm going to be using about twice as much onions as I am the celery and the carrots. The celery I've got minced up quite small. And the carrots are a little bit more chunky. I'm just going to slowly saute these vegetables over a medium heat. I do not want them to brown. I just want to get them a little tender and really let the flavor start coming through. My vegetables has been sauteing for about 12 minutes or so. Next, I'm going to work on the liquid base. I'm adding water. I'm adding 1 cup for about 4 servings, so about 4 cups of water. And with that, I'm going to add some chicken paste bouillon to the mix to create my tasty broth. And with that, I'm going to be adding a white flash sweet potato. This would be a good time to add meat if you're going to be putting meat in it, but I'm not putting meat in my recipe today. I'm going to add some cabbage to it. If you're adding any kind of spices to it, this would be a good time to add your spices and your herbs, pastas, or grains. I'm not measuring. I'm just going to put in some sea salt, a little bit of black pepper, and a little bit of garlic salt. Now I have added all my vegetables for this pot of soup except for my spinach. I'm going to do that at the end because it doesn't take very long for spinach to cook. And also we need to taste and adjust as we're going along here. So I'm going to turn the burner down some, and I just want this to simmer kind of low for ever how long it takes to get the vegetables nice and tender. The vegetables in my soup are getting tender, so now I'm going to add my fresh spinach. And also I'm going to add only about 1/2 cup of the chickpeas, which is also known as garbanzo beans. We taste and adjust as we go. I want my soup to have a little bit more liquid base, so I'm adding just a little bit more water, maybe about another cup. And because I added a little bit more water, I'm going to add a little bit more of my bouillon. And that is it. It is as simple as that. This soup looks delicious. It smells so good. This delicious bowl of soup only took about 30 minutes once I started getting everything in the pot to cook. That pot of soup turned out so good. It had a very mild flavor, and because I did not put too many spices and herbs in it, the natural flavors of the vegetables came through, which made it very enjoyable to eat. Now, like I mentioned before, I do plan on bringing some very specific soup recipes coming up in the near future. However, we can go to our kitchens, to our refrigerator, to our pantries, and pull out ingredients that we have on hand and just put together a wonderful pot of soup of whatever we want to create at any time. If you have found this video helpful, please take a moment to give it a thumbs up. Leaving a comment and sharing the video with others will help the channel to grow. And if you have not subscribed already, please take a moment to consider subscribing to Kitchen Garden Farmhouse. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.